Clint Eastwood, the iconic actor and director who rose from humble beginnings to conquer Hollywood. But behind the steely gaze and unwavering on-screen presence lies a life marked by hardship. From a childhood disrupted by frequent moves to the psychological toll of early career struggles, Eastwood's journey was far from easy. He endured anxiety attacks, a devastating plane crash, and the heartbreaking loss of his father. Yet, amidst these challenges, he forged a legacy as one of cinema's most celebrated figures. Did Clint Eastwood's turbulent past shape the legend he became? Watch until the end to discover the untold story. On May 31st, 1930, little Clint Eastwood entered the world at St. Francis Hospital in San Francisco, shocking the nurses with a hefty 11-pound weight, earning him the nickname Samson. His parents, Clinton Sr. and Ruth, née Runner, boasted a family tree with English, Scottish, Dutch, German, and Irish roots. Clint even had a Mayflower passenger somewhere back in his ancestry. Later, a younger sister, Jean Bernhardt, joined the family. Throughout the 1930s, Clint's dad struggled to hold down a steady job. He tried his hand as a salesman and even dabbled as a detective in San Francisco. It was a decade of constant moves for the Eastwoods, but by 1940, they found stability in affluent Piedmont, California. Forget those Depression-era tales Clint sometimes drops. The Eastwoods were living comfortably with a swimming pool, country club membership, and all the perks. Sadly, school wasn't Clint's strong suit. Held back in Piedmont Junior High due to poor grades, he was forced to play catch-up with summer classes. His rebellious streak really flared up at Piedmont High School. That obscene message scrawled on the scoreboard, the flaming effigy on the school lawn, those stunts got him kicked out in short order. Oakland Technical High offered a fresh start. Well, sort of. Teachers saw a spark of talent and pushed him towards school plays, but Clint simply wasn't interested. He was more into fast cars, girls, and honing his hobbies like tennis and golf. While he could have been a decent basketball player, Clint preferred solo pursuits. He worked on car engines, even learned about aircraft maintenance, and became so skilled at the piano that a friend recalls his fingers literally bleeding from practice. But graduation? A big question mark. Records are fuzzy, and friends like Fritz Maines believe he simply dropped out to chase a good time somewhere else. With his father relocating to Seattle in early 1949, Clint found a temporary home with his buddy Harry Pendleton in Oakland. Then, a stroke of luck. An invite to a Malibu party where he met film director Howard Hawks, a major turning point in his life. But before Hollywood, there was real work. Logging in Springfield, Oregon, a stint as a lifeguard after getting his Red Cross certification, and even playing ragtime piano in an Oakland bar. Talk about a wild start. Did raw talent and lucky breaks pave his path, or was destiny guiding him all along? Keep watching. Things are about to get a whole lot more interesting. The Korean War drafted Clint Eastwood into the Army in 1951, but instead of battlefields, he landed at Fort Ord, California. His assignment? Swimming instructor. Safe gig, right? But fate has a way of shaking things up. September 30th, 1951. Hitched a ride back to base from Seattle? Turns out it's a jinxed flight. Bad weather right off the bat, then things get really bad. The plane's back door flies open. Clint rigs a makeshift fix, but the radios and oxygen system cut out. Talk about a nightmare scenario. Things really hit the fan when the fuel runs dry. Lost in the fog, miles from the California coast, the pilot has no choice but to ditch the plane. Sharks are a real threat here, but Clint and the pilot inflate rafts and desperately start paddling towards shore. The ocean fights them. Waves overturn Clint's raft, forcing him to swim a grueling 2-4 miles, depending on who's telling the tale. Here's where his Army gig becomes life or death. Remember that swimming instructor job? It might just be what gives him the edge to survive this. Exhausted and disoriented, Clint battles hallucinations in the bioluminescent water. Yet, somehow, he makes it ashore. Stumbling into an RCA radio station, cold and shocked, he reunites with the pilot, who amazingly also survived. Years later, Clint stars in Escape from Alcatraz. He plays Frank Morris, an inmate escaping the infamous island prison by audaciously swimming across the frigid San Francisco Bay. Art imitating life? Seems like escaping death gave Clint the grit that makes his on-screen escapes so utterly believable. But hey, the military life isn't all work. Clint has a side hustle at a sugar company to boost his measly $67 a month pay. Plus, there's that rumored romance with an officer's daughter. Good connections never hurt. Even then, a trip to Carmel sparked something in him. Someday, I'd like to live here. His military buddies include guys like Richard Long and Martin Milner, future TV stars. The 1970s and early 1980s saw Clint Eastwood trade his spurs for a badge and the dusty plains for city streets. This era introduced Dirty Harry, the iconic San Francisco cop who wasn't afraid to bend the rules to get his man. The theme of the rogue with a badge continued in films like Thunderbolt and Lightfoot and The Gauntlet, where the lines between morality and legality blurred. Eastwood also showed his comedic side with the Every Which Way films, featuring his orangutan companion Clyde. This era ended with the chilling Escape from Alcatraz, where Clint proved his acting prowess wasn't limited to heroes. He could play a desperate convict just as convincingly. While making the 1975 thriller The Eiger Sanction, tragedy struck the film crew. Experienced mountain climber David Knowles, working as a stunt double, was needed for a few more shots of a climbing sequence. He teamed up with fellow climber Mike Hoover to complete the task. They successfully obtained the footage, but disaster followed. An unexpected rock slide sent a boulder hurtling towards the men as they stood on a ledge. Mike Hoover was severely injured with a fracture, while David Knowles tragically lost his life. A chilling detail, the horrific scene mirrored one the crew had filmed just days before. One of the surviving climbers described the shock, saying, "We flew up to that same location, and there was the scene that we had been faking for 2 days. Dave Knowles hanging dead on the end of the rope. It was unbelievable. Fantasy and reality come head on." The news devastated Clint Eastwood. He felt responsible for the death and was overwhelmed by grief, nearly abandoning the entire project. However, his crew, understanding the inherent risks of filmmaking, urged him to continue, believing it was the best way to honor David Knowles' memory and dedication. The 1980s and early 1990s brought a shift in Eastwood's characters. They weren't just tough anymore, they were burdened. In Firefox, he played a pilot haunted by PTSD, while Tightrope saw him as a cop tormented by the killer he pursues. Eastwood's characters battled not just external villains, but also their own inner demons. This theme continued in The Rookie, where his obsession with a case endangered those around him, and White Hunter Black Heart, where a film director became fixated on an elephant hunt. Unforgiven marked the pinnacle of this era. Clint returned to his Western roots, but this time as a haunted ex-outlaw, grappling with his violent past. The 2000s and beyond brought us the era of the grumpy Clint Eastwood. We see him in Space Cowboys, as an aged astronaut finally getting his long-awaited shot at space travel. In Bloodwork, he's a retired profiler whose health struggles hinder him as he hunts a killer. But Eastwood truly reached peak curmudgeon status in films like $1 Million Baby, where he plays a reluctant boxing trainer, and Gran Torino, where a racist veteran finds redemption in an unexpected way. His latest film, Cry Macho, continues the theme of the grumpy old guy, this time as a weathered horseman on a journey through rural Mexico. Clint Eastwood's personal life is as dramatic as any film he's directed. His first marriage to Maggie Johnson in 1953 seemed to mark a desire for stability. While initially hesitant about settling down, Eastwood took the plunge, but the domestic bliss soon waned. Restlessness crept in, and extramarital affairs became a recurring theme. The first consequence of this philandering lifestyle was a daughter, Lori Murray, born from a secret affair and placed for adoption without Eastwood's knowledge. Years later, Another affair resulted in the birth of Kimber Lynn. Despite Maggie's awareness of these transgressions, the couple remained together for a time, even welcoming their own children, Kyle and Allison, into the world. However, the cracks in the facade were growing wider. By 1979, rumors of Eastwood's involvement with co-star Sandra Locke swirled, leading to the couple's final separation. The consequences of Eastwood's romantic choices extended far beyond the headlines. Kimber. Eastwood's relationship with her father has been a source of conflicting narratives. At times, she's described a strong bond, while on other occasions, she's spoken of feeling neglected and frustrated, even claiming to have pleaded for a closer relationship. The story of Lori Murray adds another layer of complexity to Eastwood's personal history. Adopted as a baby, Lori only discovered her biological father in the 1990s through a private investigator. While Eastwood welcomed her after she reached out, it remains unclear whether he ever actively searched for her or simply never knew of her existence before her revelation. Eastwood's affair with stuntwoman Roxanne Tunis began on the set of Rawhide. It lasted a reported 14 years and resulted in daughter Kimber, though Eastwood claims he initially didn't know she was his. This pattern of keeping his children a secret would repeat itself later. Sandra Locke entered the picture in 1972, though Eastwood was still with Johnson and Locke with her childhood friend in a platonic marriage. Their on-set chemistry in The Outlaw Josie Wales turned into a passionate but tumultuous relationship. Locke alleged that Eastwood, against his desires, pressured her into having abortions and a two-ball ligation. This toxic dynamic lasted a decade and ended in ugly lawsuits claiming fraud and broken promises on Eastwood's part. While Locke was still in the picture, Eastwood met flight attendant Jacelyn Reeves. Their fling resulted in 2 children, Scott and Catherine. Around the same time, he crossed paths with actress Frances Fisher. It was love at first sight for her. Despite Locke's looming presence, they embarked on a happy romance that produced daughter Francesca. But Eastwood's secret children with Reeves, the strain of previous affairs, and paparazzi photos hinted at infidelity. Eventually, this relationship also fell apart. News anchor Dina Ruiz caught Eastwood's eye in 1992. Their whirlwind romance led to marriage in 1996 and daughter Morgan soon after. This seemed like a calmer period for Eastwood, but a reality show featuring Dina clashed with his private nature. Things spiraled as Dina sought support from old friend Scott Fisher, while Eastwood began dating his ex-wife, Erica Tomlinson Fisher. In 2013, the marriage officially imploded, but as one chapter ends, in 2015, Eastwood found love with hostess Christina Sandera. The couple has kept their relationship private, even enjoying events alongside Eastwood's exes and children, suggesting an amicable maturity in his later years. In recent years, Clint Eastwood's health has been a source of speculation. After not being seen publicly for over 450 days, concerns grew. His last appearance had been in February 2022 at the AT&T Pro-Am Golf Tournament, an event he usually enjoys and held near his home. Even his absence from the 2023 tournament, where his son Scott was competing, fueled the worry among those close to him. However, Eastwood put these rumors to rest last month with a rare appearance at Jane Goodall's conservationist event in his hometown of Carmel by the Sea. He was seen smiling, chatting with Goodall, and appeared in good spirits. Photos of the 93-year-old legend show him looking healthy, with longer hair, a full beard, and a casual yet stylish outfit. This marked a return to the public eye, as he's even back behind the camera, directing and producing the courtroom drama Juror No. 2. He was spotted on the Georgia set last November, clearly engaged with the work. Eastwood maintains a low-fat, high-protein diet, being mindful of his cholesterol levels, a lesson likely learned from his father, who sadly died young from cardiovascular disease. This healthy lifestyle clearly runs in the family, as Clint's son, actor Scott Eastwood, credits his father as his fitness inspiration. Scott revealed that Clint taught him to lift weights as a teen and follows a similar regimented diet focused on nutrients rather than indulgence. Whether acting, directing, or simply enjoying an afternoon with fellow conservationists, it's clear that Clint Eastwood won't let age define him. Thank you for watching. If you love this video, let us know with a like, comment, and don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification bell.